have smaller states. Divide UP into 4. It's unwieldy. 200 million people, and you must be. And so, what is the reason and the rationale for that?
See, there is a historical context to this whole debate of smaller states, and currently what Behan Mayawati ji, the national president of the Bahujan Samaj Party, has said just 2-3 days back in her press conference, and also while she was the chief minister, the UP Assembly passed a resolution trying to put forward this view to the central government that Uttar Pradesh be divided into 4 states, namely Bundelkhand, Pashchimi Uttar Pradesh, Purvanchal and Awadh Pradesh. Now there are historical reasons, and of course, as I have said, the historical reason is the founder chairperson of the constitution, Shri Baba Saheb Bhimrao Ambedkar himself talked of a separate Vidarbha state. He was always in favor of smaller states, and that is why he advocated.
That's not necessarily the reason why it should be done.
Let me complete my, and then I'll definitely answer your question. And those people who within UP are trying to oppose the bifurcation of Uttar Pradesh, which is the Samajwadi Party, even their ideologues and leader, namely Jayaprakash Narayan and Ram Manohar Lohia. Ram Manohar Lohia was a staunch supporter of the Telangana movement, and his very close associates like Badri Vishal Pitti, like Kesharao Jadhav, and people like Narasimha Reddy and all quoted rest while this movement. And coming to Jayaprakash Narayan, he said that India needs at least 100 states. A country like United States, which has 50 states, which is 1/3 of India's population. Why should India not have more provinces? So this argument which Behan Mayawati ji has given is in favor of 4 UP and Chaudhary Charan Singh.
We must
one more. The Western UP leader and of course our former Prime Minister Chaudhary Charan Singh himself on many occasions talked of a separate Western UP.
This is what Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru said. He said, this is in the run-up to state reorganization.
I'm not talking of Nehru. What I'm trying
small states will have small minds.
No, this is absolutely
that is
wrong.
Absolutely
if it was the
wrong
case,
that he said this.
Absolutely wrong. If it was the case, Kerala would not have done well. If it was the case, then Haryana, Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, and of course the 3 new states which have been formed, the GDP has been much better, like the Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, and also Uttaranchal. Therefore, this argument does not hold any ground.
Okay, of course, I was just quoting the dangers of going entirely into history.
Sikkim is doing very well. Himachal Pradesh, they are also smaller states.
Can I just ask you first, because Mr. Suresh hasn't really had a chance to speak. In general, do smaller states work? Is the example of Telangana something that we should translate into other states?
You see, it has to be taken on a case-to-case basis. You cannot have fly-by-the-night political operators with, letterhead, statehood demands, demanding these states. There has to be some reasons. One, historical reasons have to be there. Economic reasons have to be there. Administrative reasons have to be there. Only then you cannot, of course, have a rule that no more states But you need to have a case-to-case basis.
But some of the other debates that are no doubt going to come up, whether it's Vidarbha, whether it's Uttar Pradesh, whether it's Gorkhaland, these have been around for a while, and they are, in every case, there will be reasons why it should be done.
Secondly, again, do you have a mass movement? Do you have people's movement?
Yes, of course, Gorkhaland has a mass movement.
And then, what is the basis on which this claim is being made? Is it based on some irredentist claim? What is the kind of... Now, come to think of it. I have absolutely no problem with the Gorkha agitation. The only thing is that when some of the supporters of the Gorkhaland movement say that, look, this was our territory, we had annexed this territory, so this belongs to us. Now, how far will you take history? Are we talking about, now that way, it was the Gorkhalis who invaded Sikkim, and then after the Anglo-Gorkhali war, the defeat of the Gorkhas, then they ceded this part of Sikkim, Darjeeling, to British India. Now, which part we are going to agree? How much further are we going?
You can't keep going back into history to justify some demands, because then we could be doing this forever.
No, that is right, but you see, one has to see the historical background also. Because in 1954 only, you see, under the Absorbed Area Act, Darjeeling and Doors were made part of Bengal. Before that, it was in Bengal Presidency, but it was kept under scheduled district, some excluded area, partially excluded area, non-regulated area.
In general, is it a good idea or a bad idea, smaller
I think
states?
we need to approach this in a different way. I don't think of course, there are historical contexts, and we can go back to history. There are always lessons to be learned from there. But I think at the end of the day, the issue here is about governance, and it's about delivery of administrative governance. That's the bottom line. Now, in the normal framework, you can ask this from a family perspective. Somebody wouldn't like to leave the family and make a separate house. If they were happier, there would be issues. What we are finding is governance, by and large, is not working or working around the power center, which could be the capital. So the far-flung areas get to be left out. Now the district administration is supposed to do that job. So is the job supposed to be done by the Panchayati Raj. Over the years, there have been inadequacies there too. So therefore, this leads to a demand that can we be better administered, and there have been good examples of smaller states doing well. One was quoted of Haryana, which was created out of Punjab. Chhattisgarh is doing very well. So is Madhya Pradesh. Both of them are doing well. But so is Jharkhand is also economically, there are political stable. Now, but the question here is, I don't think there are two things we need to be careful about. One is, can we allow, for example, violence to be the defining factor for creation of states?
That was my concern with what Mr. Suresh was saying.
So,
is there a mass movement? Does
so
that mean you
therefore,
have to be violent and only
now
then
you
to
see
get
what
it?
has happened in parts of the northeast, for example, there's been creation of territorial autonomous district councils. Now some of them may take the shape that let's be states. It may be considered on merits. Second is, when we are creating a state, it should lead to better delivery and governance and economic factors too. Socio-economic indicators should improve.
So more than history, does it make life better for the people out there?
My last sentence is where the risk comes up is, if we create administrative new structures that are not viable in the real sense, economically, socially, and only are taking away resources to maintain that, then there is a risk. And then the real legitimate demands of true states will start getting challenged. So I think we have
in
to
the
look at
case
it with
of
a broader
Gorkhaland,
all
Gorkhaland Territorial Administration was formed.
As far as Bundelkhand is concerned, it is the richest area in mineral resources, but the poorest area in development. So therefore, if you want to have development, if you want to have good governance and genuine federalism, then therefore there is a need, a very strong need for the division of Uttar Pradesh with over 20 crores of people.
Ramin on the broader principle.
No, I'm not going into the Telangana anymore. What I'm trying to say is, let's look at this from what is small and the outcomes. Now, first of all, let me go into the definition of how small is small state. Now, Telangana, according to BJP, is because they want smaller states. Now, Ramarao doesn't agree. Ramarao says Telangana is going to be as big as West Bengal. That is one. So, how small? If you have a state of this much, then this is smaller. Then this state, this is smaller.
So, where do you draw the line?
Which means that that is not. And another thing is, development or good deliverance is not a function of the size of the state. The link between the delivery of administration or welfare or anything is not directly connected.
Disagreeing with that
Wait a minute. No, just a minute. That is one. And secondly, I think for some reason, after your liberalization, globalization, this particular discourse of devolution of powers, 72nd and 73rd amendments, has gone out of fashion. But let's bring it back now. You see, if I from Narsapuram in West Godavari has to come every time for my needs to Delhi, it is far. But I have Hyderabad, my state capital, I come there. But even then, from my panchayat, if suppose my district headquarters can redress my grievances, my panchayat can do that, my block can do that. Whether it is a big state or a small state doesn't matter.
So you're saying governance is not linked to the size of the
just
state.
one more sentence. Now, if you go on saying that small delivers better, small is good for economy, small is good for progress. Now, today if you say small states are good, now it's not very long, very far, when somebody comes up and says small countries are good for it. This is not the way. This is not the way. The decentralization. It is decentralization that is important.
It's an interesting point. I'm going to come to it.
I just want to give you a few data sets. Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, if you see their growth rate 10 years before separation, 10 years after, and Uttarakhand, there's a huge difference. 10 years after
the Indian economy has been growing much faster.
You can compare them with the parts from where they separated. It's much better because they should also be doing well. So, Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh, alongside the border, if you take one district here, one district there, they should be having similar growth rate, but that's not true. I'll tell you why it happens, because when a small state fructifies, a lot of physical and social infrastructure is immediately reached in the first flush of enthusiasm, first 5 years, which is which
But is that
happened.
duplication, Venu? So you said from a national point of view, is it wasteful that you're going to duplicate
No, but
two
these
chief
states had no
minister's
roads.
office, two
Jharkhand had
DGP's
no roads.
office?
Chhattisgarh had, look at Chhattisgarh's delivery of food.
But in a state like Telangana, a lot of it exists
No,
actually.
but you see Chhattisgarh's delivery and Madhya Pradesh's world of difference. So you have, it's a bit like a teacher to a class of 200 and a good teacher to a class of 100. The attention goes up.
Okay.
I think when we are looking at the larger picture, let us also look at the impact on the polity of the country. Come to think of it, 50 states somebody is talking about. That means 100 more regional parties, perhaps more.
Why
Now,
not? Why not?
fractured central mandate.
Oh, that's
Now
not
they will
reality.
all be depending
No,
on.
that
Come
should
to
not
think
be
of
the
it, and
reason,
then
you
that
see.
means a much more
100
weaker
more parties.
center,
That
which
is
will
not
have
going
to
to
deal
make
with
sense.
issues, whether it is NCTC, whether it is central taxes. You look at anything, they just won't allow anything to happen. So are we looking at
Doesn't
governance?
So I think,
Okay, it's an interesting point. It's interesting. Ram, let me just get you on the broader issues. In general, do smaller states always work? Forget about Telangana for a minute. In general, should we have 50 states? Should we have 100 states? Should we have 200 states? And at what point do you draw the line?
Well, Vikram, one thing remains a fact that in our country we don't have a scientific, rational way of actually creating a state. That is a fact. On the one hand, we have something as small as Goa as a separate state, and then on the other hand, we have something as big as Uttar Pradesh, which is the 6th largest administrative unit in the world. So therefore, there's no scientific methodology per se in our country other than the first States Reorganization Commission, which was formed in early 1950s, which recommended creation of states on a linguistic basis. But that no longer seems to be the model to follow, because there are a lot of regional aspirations, a lot of assertion of identities which are happening. So therefore, who defines what is small? I guess the question is really, rather than the size of the state, for example, in case of Telangana, as Mr. Prabhakar rightly said, Telangana eventually, when it is formed, it will be the 11th largest state in terms of population in this country, and it will be the 12th largest state in terms of geographical size. So how do you define small is the question, but the real answer to the whole question of people empowerment is really the decentralization, and as Mr. Prabhakar rightly said, local governance to be empowered, and if the people's issues are, they get redressal right at the panchayat level or the mandal level or the block level, I think most of the issues are taken care of right there.
Okay, can I now just throw the other issue that Prabhakar just raised on the question of when you have too many smaller states, and which means you're doing it more and more on various cleavages, linguistic, regional, others, does that also lead to the possible threat of secessionism? We said small states are a good idea, why not smaller countries? Is that something which you think is a possibility?
No, you see, smaller states on the line of linguistic basis, that should also be one of the criteria as far as Gorkhaland is concerned, because our language is very different. Now you see,
No, his point is why is it not possible that same argument can be used one time later to say, okay, let's have smaller countries, let's break away from India, and that then becomes very dangerous.
that should not be. You see, we want within the Indian Union.
Okay.
Yeah,
Will it
the
lead to
consti-
secessionism?
Yes, no, see, the Constitution of India is binding everybody together. Nobody can secede away from the Constitution of India. Everybody who's raising this demand is also saying that we want to work within the framework of the Indian Constitution.
No, I have a
There is
point.
no problem.
Strengthen the Indian federal structure.
Could it lead
I
to
think,
secessionism?
no, I don't think so, because secessionism has its own implications. So I don't think so, because anyone who's setting up a state, we've not had a single example of such a thing happening in our 70 years of democracy. So why are we making such an argument for the future? First, that's risky.
That should not be the basis of the argument.
It's okay.
Sometimes
No, but-
ended secessionist demands by having different states.
By
but I have
giving
one
them
more
more
point to make.
power.
Yeah,
I
but
just
you
have,
know,
I
have
need to
another
point
point to
out
make.
here,
I want to just,
that-
Suresh, just a point I want to make is that I think the time has come that we should seriously be looking at a second state reorganization commission, because what's happening is there are demands, and instead of it being done like Telangana is a classic case of how it shouldn't be done. 9 years of agitation, 9 years of flip-flop, we will be there, we will not do it, we will do it, we will not do it, maybe we should do it, maybe this is the formula. That's dangerous. So instead of that, let's have it, let there be a conclusive debate, everyone gets to participate in it, political parties, representatives of the regions, and I think if there is a reorganization of the country, there's no harm about that.